You don't have to choose now. But whenever you make your choice, it's final. Can't be changed. This can have a direct connection to your character. You can choose it randomly. You can pick one that maybe doesn't have an obvious connection, but you want to pick it anyway. I'll explain what the choice means later. But you can choose between basically the domains of the cleric. Knowledge, life, light, trickery, tempest, war, nature. And I think that's all of them. If you want to pick something like grave or forge, I would probably classify those under something else. Like grave would probably be classified under death. So it can have a direct connection, like life directly connects to Vesper if you want. You can pick something completely different. There's also, you can pick primordial, but I will warn you that it is rare anywhere besides the elemental planes. So you may not get to use it unless you're on the elemental planes.
I have a feeling about what this might be. Does Felix get one?
Yes.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. My assumptions may be wrong.
Should we choose now?
If you have a choice, you can certainly choose now.
I'm going to stick with life. It's done me good so far.
Okay.
And
final
you're not
answer.
going to tell us what it means necessarily? We just kind of, just what we've gathered so far?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to exactly tell you what it means. I will, after the choices are made. It's your chakras, we'll say. It's your celestial sign, but it's going to have real consequence.
I will wait for Felix to suddenly be aware that he is one and freak the fuck out.
So we have
Felix
Vesper.
is the only silver, so nobody recognized him.
I feel like Amsen's probably going to go for knowledge. It feels right for him.
I was thinking either knowledge or trickery.
Honestly, I could say trickery for Amsen, too.
You can think of it as an energy that's like tied or bound to your soul. So it can be directly related, like Vesper's life, but it also could be like you're born with it and it doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. So whatever you think is an interesting choice for your character. And if you guys
are reading, trying to find out what the interpretations are.
I don't think you'll find an answer. And if you guys have answers now, we can take them. Otherwise, we can, since the game's over, we can give you a week. But if you all answer now, I can tell you how it works, even if your characters don't understand it.
Can we get a moment just, like, I would love to answer it now, because I don't like this cliffhanger. Like, I need to know now.
Yeah.
But can I just have a moment just to mull it over?
Ponder the situation.
Knowledge makes the most sense if I want to tie it to what Felix, is all about. But I kind of want to go with something weird.
You can also, roll randomly if you want to determine that. So however you guys really want to do it.
Does anyone have a strong tie to war? Which I think would be an interesting thing to throw on Felix.
That
would be
on the fence with three of them. One of them was war, but since all that would do is just make my decision easier, so now I'm just stuck between two of them instead of three of them.
Is this a thing where we each have to choose something separate?
No, they can all be the same, different. Doesn't matter.
So it's probably more interesting if they're different.
Yeah. Actually, thinking about it, I probably wouldn't go knowledge. I'd either go light or trickery.
Do we want to make a conscious effort to pick different ones? Because if that's the case, do we want to just type out the ones we're thinking of and then just try to narrow it down that way so we don't overlap?
Guess so.
Or do we just want to pick whatever anyway, and if they overlap, they overlap?
I could switch to death. That could kind of be really interesting. Before we all finalize what we're doing, I could choose death. That could be really interesting as a twist.
Vesper confirmed Crimson Harbinger.
I know. This is probably just deciding that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know. I mean,
I want Felix to be war, so I'm going to lock that in as just the opposite of what he normally is about.
That is interesting. All right.
no, I think I miss it with life. It's everything that I have.
It's literally your whole entire character.
My whole, is the denial of death and pushing that away, which is why it would be interesting, but I think I'm going to stick with life. No, I'm so on the fence, because
We don't know what it means.
We don't know what it means, and it's such an interesting idea.
Roger,
of,
what are you thinking
that
of?
balance, you know?
I've narrowed it down to light and war domains.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think those are the ones that make the most sense. It just, light to me seems a little too kind of like goody. Not goody, like too like lawful good vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I'm kind of thinking maybe war is a bit more balls alley.
I mean, if we do want to do separate, I'm fine with ball going war. I may flavor Felix's knowledge as the Arcana domain, just to give it a little bit more something.
Felix's nature.
I actually did think of that as like a weird
That could be
twist
kinda
where
funny.
he got...
Indoor kid.
Yeah.
That could be interesting for other reasons, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones that people, like, even when you say that, like, I mean, Vol speaks fucking Sylvan somehow. Maybe there's some weird nature connection that Vol missed out on.
What's Ellory thinking?
I mean, Tempest seems like the obvious choice. Though there's also a part of me that is interested in nature instead.
Okay. Yeah.
Would it help if I threw some thoughts out there?
Yes.
Not,
Yes.
I do not want you to take them as suggestions, but like maybe things that, I mean, you guys can obviously figure out the obvious ones and maybe just throw something out there that is less obvious for consideration. I do not want you to take them as suggestions, but just thoughts. So Vesper, obvious life, unobvious death. I think that's cool. Ellory, obvious tempest. Not obvious light. The knowledge / trickery for Amsen is interesting. Felix, not obvious nature would be interesting. And for Ball, I'd say war primordial would be the obvious. Not obvious would be maybe trickery.
Okay.
But do that with what you will.
Ball could also, I could see him as Tempest. I'm just throwing out ideas of just the
Yeah.
themes.
The thing is, you can justify, like, you
Or
can
nature.
make a lot of...
Just by anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if we all had a different one.
I do too.
Just because
Same.
part of it is just, I want to know what
Each one did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 And I'm actually getting less and less sold on war as time goes on, so I'm open to if someone else wants it.
Oh, I'm so torn.
So how about let's see if we can, if we are going to try to lean towards having different ones, how about we all type in the ones that we're even considering, and then just, maybe that'll help us kind of narrow it down.
Should we go into depth of kind of why we're thinking these different things and help each other pick?
You want to like get them on the field and then go from there
Yeah.
with your like thoughts.
We all want light.
Light. Like, that one has to be good, right? That one made us a 16.
Hey, there we go. Knowledge, war, and trickery. Finally, somebody that doesn't want light.
I just don't get it. So, Klaus, you made it sound like primordial, you almost kind of suggested not taking it.
It will be rare on non-elemental planes.
Yeah.
So you may not get to use it as much,
Oh, man.
except under certain situations.
So this is a choice that we're making out of character for our characters.
Yeah. Your
a
characters
choice
have
they're
no
making.
choice in this whatsoever. Yeah, this
I
is
love that.
decided maybe by no one, maybe by gods, maybe it's just a tied to your soul thing. You don't know. But this is not something your characters have any influence on. for them, it was always one way and never any other way. But you as players get to make a choice.
So see, can I just like word vomit because my brain is going? Because life is obvious because I'm, the healer. I am the life cleric, but death feels so, especially with this. No, it just feels like such, no. I mean, yes, but no, it's such the antithesis of what she is. And I feel like in a way she's been running from death this whole time. They've been avoiding the idea of her mother being dead and they haven't talked about it. And then her whole journey started when she and Ball died and then came back from that. And just the idea of her life rather being the denial of death and the postponing of it and just running from it, the idea that that's tied to her soul and it's always going to follow her. Because she's scared to die, like, honestly. So I like the idea of maybe that's what she is at her core because of it, because it's been something she's denied and fought against for so long. And in a way, even subverting death and preventing it is still in tandem with that cycle.
That's cool.
And it's still control over it, which is why I'm really leaning towards it.
So,
but I'm also like, I don't want to be a bad. I don't want to be evil. That's
every time's one.
I mean, I like
you
that.
Cut out.
Yeah.
Oh, I just asked if anyone was leaning towards one thing or the other. Please continue.
I also like the idea of Vesper doing death. I think it's I mean, life and death are two sides of the same coin.
Right, that's the thing. And I kind of like the idea of, like, no matter how much she tries to deny the darker side, it's always going to be there. And that it's truly not life that she's been pursuing, but rather, again, the control over death.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. Fuck it. It makes the most sense. Locked in.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and take trickery option off of my list. I was thinking about it tying to Ellory's past, but I feel like that's not
really who she is now.
Yeah. That was always something that she more took on because she was trying to be useful.
Mm-hmm.
But not because it was who she was or what she really wanted for herself, because she didn't really think that much about what she wanted otherwise.
I just have to say, I love how much Ellory's character has changed over all of these sessions. Because you originally suggested her as, like, oh, she wanted to be a rogue, but she got magic powers instead. And now look at her.
And hey, she said, I love you and sorry in the same session today.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Both two things that, like, she never said to anybody.
Can I talk about Amsen for a second? Unless
yeah.
You want to talk about
No,
Felix?
I was going to say, does anybody have one they're leaning towards? Because we got away from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, trickery is the obvious one because, Amsen's, his whole, like, crowd control thing and whatever, and getting people to do things that he wants and whatever, that makes sense. It's all based on, like, enchantments and illusions and trickery and whatever. That makes sense. But the reason why I'm thinking light, like, knowledge also kind of makes sense because he's a lore bard or whatever. But I'm thinking light would make sense because, he's always that constant force of optimism within the group. He's always positive, he's always helpful, he's always there, that kind of thing. So that's why I thought to add light into there.
Yeah, trickery and light were the first two that came to mind when I thought of Amsen as well.
Yeah, what could be interesting too is if you kind of follow and subvert, Amsen keeps so many secrets and he hides behind voices and stories and things and doesn't really let anyone see his real self. So the idea of letting that light out could also be a sense of honesty.
It's also, in that way it's also subverting the trope that he's created around himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Kind of riffing off of those, it wasn't on my list, but I think Felix as life, despite the fact that he, like, tries not to care about anything. He has been working, spent the last 50 years trying to save the world.
Literally.
And, not even nice about it, but he just doesn't want it to end. So that there's kind of, this... He, has never even considered himself as part of any kind of destiny. He just needs to do it. So, I think Felix as life, if Vesper is not going for that, may be interesting.
The asshole
I
doctor
really
that
like
saves
that,
everybody's
actually.
life all the time. Yeah.
That's already me, but yes.
Well, yes.
I kind of like that. That's really good.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Wow.
You're breaking up a bit, but I think you're asking what I was thinking. Well, I think the light domain, I think, seems like an obvious one for Ball, because a bit of it is kind of the idea. I'm just reading ideals of rebirth and renewal, and I'm still, even though Ball's not kind of pro AIE necessarily, it's still been a life of kind of shedding his old skin and growing new skin multiple times, if anything. Then there's the war domain, but I'm not sure about the war domain. I mean, that's kind of a lot of what Ball does best is just kind of smash face, but it's not like Ball does it barbarian style and just kind of goes in there guns blazing, ready to direct face, ask questions later. I was still kind of thinking, because I know it's one of those things that was in his backstory a long time ago, the idea that Ball can speak Sylvan. And then I don't actually have any info one way or the other, but I have this feeling when Ball finds out, or if Ball finds out who his mother is, it's going to have something to do with this nature domain. I just have this sneaking suspicion, maybe that has something to do with the whole speaking Sylvan. So I feel like that might be kind of an interesting one where it's not apparent to Ball, but is actually you might not know your mother, but your mother is still kind of half of how you became who you are in a way.
But there's also the moments where Ball just likes to sit in the woods and be alone. Mm-hmm. He's got that kind of nature connection, and it's always been his calm zone when he is not Inferno Ball.
Yeah. And he's always cared about the lives of animals as well as people, and has really always put everything on the same level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like it because it was the Circle of Fire or something, Unearthed Arcana.
The New Druid Circle,
the Wildfire Druid.
Yeah,
I was totally thinking of that.
I was thinking it was a lot kind of how it is one of the things with Ball, where it's just you burn things down to let it build back up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It just still seems kind of nature-like.
Fits really well also with his beliefs about second chances and even with reincarnation, that idea of out of destruction, new life comes. It feels like it ties together multiple aspects of Ball and who he is and what he loves.
I think that might be what I'm leaning towards, because the other ones, I can think of clear reasons why it doesn't fit, whereas nature seems like there's no clear reason it doesn't fit. It just kind of, you know what I mean? The other ones for sure I can say no to in a way. This one I can't come up with a clear reason not to pick it. Yes, maybe Ball will lean towards nature.
So, Ellory.
Yeah. I'm so bad at decisions. You're gonna have to help me, guys.
I mean, Tempest is, yes, obvious, but not unfitting. I mean, you, more than anybody, found your god through play and through the development of Ellory. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't seem, because she is somewhat tempestual.
Yeah, her personality very, very much fits in with that Tempest thing, just in general.
Yeah, I think obvious doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
especially with Ellory. And
yes,
that you have that wild magic, it's like, it is very tempestuous and just...
Yeah.
That's certainly true.
It really, she seems to have found, just from the outside observing, it seems like she's a lot more confident, a lot more sure of herself as a person now that she's found the Tempest, and that she doesn't have to repress things, that she doesn't have to be.
Absolutely true.
So I feel like, even though it's quote unquote on the nose because it's your actual cleric domain, it fits, and it's, something you grew into.
And it's something that she's been drawn to for a very long time. Even before she started thinking about following Voltonary, the idea of the Tempest, the storm.
Like, Ellory can be this incredibly destructive force of chaos and rage, or she can be the greatest thing that, that a, whatever, what's it called? like rain is on dry fields, it's the greatest, most refreshing thing ever. Ellory can be both, depending on how you find her.
Monsoon or a hurricane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the light thing I kind of find interesting, partly because, well, for a few reasons that I'm having trouble wording. The whole star thing that we haven't figured out yet, that we don't really know how all that is connected. And also kind of the idea that she has slowly been learning to shine a light on whatever dark places are in herself and acknowledge what she has suppressed in the past or what she has avoided thinking about. So I am kind of torn between those two, but I think I'm gonna go with Tempest.
Before we lock it in, I want to know what Klaus would have picked for us, and then gonna lock, or after we lock it in, but before we find out the results. Yes. I'm just curious from the GM point of view.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that.
What did you think we were gonna pick?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is everyone locked in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Felix is life, Ball is nature, Vesper is death, Amsen is light, and Ellory is tempest. Okay, locked in. Any final words? 4, 3,
YOLO.
Eat. Okay.
Everybody dab.
I want to preface what I would have picked is I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer to this. And so that's why I'm really, really glad you guys got to pick and really talked it out, because it made a heck of a lot of sense when you guys started talking out. I probably would have picked trickery for Ball would have been different. I would have picked light for Ellory. Otherwise similar though. Yeah, otherwise similar.
Can I ask what you saw in trickery for Ball? For me, it's not apparent, or you're not allowed to tell us.
I can't give you an answer on that. Nor can I give you an answer on the light. Yeah.
There's still a lingering, you have like every fae in the world wants to bone you.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, who
like
can blame them?
Oh boy.
Okay.
Alright, so what the fuck does this mean?
Well, some things I will explain when they come relevant. But your characters are bound to a certain divine energy that is now leaking from the sky. General divine energy, referred to as essence, can be bound by anyone capable. And they can take it in and use it to do things. However, if the divine energy has a specific domain attached, like it is death divine energy or light divine energy, then a person only bound to that domain can bind it, can take it in. And so this colorless field, what is y'all's proficiency bonus right now?
4.
Vesper, you have 4 points of ethos. So you can bind up to your proficiency modifier number of ethos points. Like I said, if it's essence, just generic divine energy, anybody can do it. If it's like specific death energy leaking from the sky, only a person of that domain can take it in. There are specific abilities that go with each one that will come relevant when they become relevant. But you can spend those points to gain advantage on various things. Where is it? I had it somewhere. 1 point is an advantage on a skill check. There it is. 1 point is advantage on a single weapon attack, 2 advantage on a spell attack, and 3 points advantage on a save. And you have to spend them prior to rolling.
Do they replenish, or is it just we kind of find them as we go?
More of you find them as you go. You have to go find the energy and bind it. Normally there'll be a check to see how much you can bind. But I'll say, Vesper, I'll try to describe this more next session when we come back to it. That leaking from the sky and that shockwave was immense for you specifically. The others, you felt the shockwave, but for you, it was more than just a physical shockwave. AKA, death is leaking from the sky. Death, divine energy.
Great, let's go save your mom.
I know, right? I'm like, does this have to happen now?
Listen, timing is timing, and if not now, it would have been tomorrow when you're saving Ellory's mom, or Ball's mom, or some shit.
Let's just save all the moms.
All moms forever.
Oh boy. Death leaking from the sky.
I can only mean good things.
Yep.
Yeah, especially because you're absorbing it.
Yeah, right? Just like responsibly.
Yeah. And we'll get into that too next session.